3. All right.
Welcome.
Good morning, or good evening, I should say. My name is Mark Schroeder. I am your meeting facilitator again for tonight. If you have any questions, I'll put my phone number into the chat window so that everybody can reach me. If you have any issues, can you do that real quick? Well, it's got equal signs instead of dashes, but that's okay. You know what it means. This evening, we've got a couple of speakers, and obviously, as I mentioned, everything is being recorded, just so that you're aware of that. We do have a guest this evening. That guest is Marcia Collins. She's someone that I talked to from DISD, and she is joining us this evening at our meeting.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Hello.
We also have a returning member. You may remember Karen Lee from her previous roles as evaluator and even as Tall Tales Beach Contest. Tonight, she will be having a much smaller role, but she is joining us again this evening as well. Everyone, please welcome both Marcia and Karen.
Welcome.
Hey.
All right, with that, let me go real quickly and show you our agenda for this evening. And in order to do that, I must need to start the share. Of course, our individual website is DallasSocialToastmasters.com. You can go to DallasSocialToastmasters.com and click on the members section. That will take you to this page, which is our public members page. Down here at the bottom, you'll find club flyers and announcements, which is where we've been putting our agendas during this particular time. And you will find an agenda for 2020-05-28, which looks like this. So if you would like to have your agenda in front of you, you can follow along with that. I'm going to leave a copy up at, whoops, that's not the copy that I was going to leave up. But I do have a copy up in that tab that I'm going to leave up just in case for any questions that come up and for reminders as we go through our meeting. But if you would like to follow along, that's the way you go and find a copy of our agenda. With that, I would like to give the meeting over to our Toastmaster of the evening, John Vessels. John.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Hey, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well, and welcome to another week at Dallas Social Toastmasters. We are distancing still, so maybe one of these days we'll all see each other in public a few months down the road, who knows, but for now, this is our safe way to be. I'd like to tell you about our theme for this evening is game shows. Who doesn't like a game show? Everybody has to have some game show that they enjoy. America is hooked on game shows. Even think reality shows like Big Brother and Survivor, things like that. Essentially, they are just big old game shows because people are doing things to win money. And those are the most popular things that you've ever seen come on TV. Well, and then there's, as you know, The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. People tune in constantly to see that. But I'm going for the more traditional game shows, like one of the top and longest running game shows in history is Jeopardy. Look at that behind Dagan. He's on the Jeopardy side. One of my favorite shows. I just got through watching it a half an hour ago. So I didn't win any money. Oh well, that's life. But I always enjoy playing along to see how good I am. A couple of other ones. Wheel of Fortune, I watch after Jeopardy is Wheel of Fortune. I gotta watch that. Gotta keep my grammar up. And actually, I think that that is a really good source of grammar training, is to watch Wheel of Fortune and figure out what those words are. So I'd like to move on now to our duty holders real quick. There have been a couple of changes, and we'll start with our timer, who's going to be Mark Schroeder. Mr. Schroeder, will you explain timing to our guests and Toastmasters? Schroeder.
Coming off mute, sorry.
That's all right.
I was fine until I had a window in front of the mute button and I could not get it to lower. As timer this evening, I'm going to be watching people's time. Every one of our major events has got a timing requirement or a timing goal, because timing is an important thing. When you are asked to speak, you usually have a timing requirement that you're not supposed to go over, and of course you are supposed to fill a certain amount of time as well. This evening, our typical timing requirements will be for the prepared speeches 5 to 7 minutes.
Mhm.
And what I will be doing for the benefit of our speakers is when they get to the minimum time, I will post a green background indicating that they've reached the minimum time. When they are in between the minimum time and the maximum time, I will be posting a yellow background, and when they hit the maximum time, the red will go up, and it will stay up until they finish. For our prepared speakers tonight, the green will come up typically at around 5 minutes because it's a 5 to 7 minute speech. So what you'll see is 5, 6, and 7. Speakers will qualify 30 seconds before the green, even though the green has not come up. And once the red comes up, they have 30 seconds to finish up and to wrap up their speech. With regard to table topics is much shorter. Those are 1 to 2 minute speeches. You must reach the 1 minute mark. You do not get to stop early on that one, but you'll get the green at 1, yellow at 1.5, red at 2, and you must finish up again in 30 seconds to be done by 2.5 minutes. Finally, the evaluation portion, our evaluators will have similar timing requirements of 2 to 3 minutes, 2, 2:30, and 3. That does have a 30-second leeway on either side. So basically they will qualify really at 1:30 and can go as far as 3:30, excuse me, yep, that's right, 1:30 and 3:30 if they need a little bit of extra time to finish up. I will create a report of those times to tell who qualified and who did not at each of the events. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. Our next duty holder for the evening is going to be our posture bell, and our posture bell is Mr. Rob Giles. Rob, what is the posture bell going to do?
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. As your posture monitor, my duty is to notice any good gestures, good posture, as well as poor posture, anything that distracts. It could be something that you are fiddling with your hair or your glasses or your clothes. Any gesture that or motion that you have that is distracting, even your posture, if you're slumped over, something like that. And I'll be paying attention not only to the speakers tonight, but I'll be paying attention to the audience to be sure that they're attentive and their posture is good in showing that they're attentive. I will give a report of this at the end of the meeting when called upon by the general evaluator. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Well, thank you, Rob. Good job. Karen Lee, will you be my odd counter?
Yes, sir.
Okay, will you tell us what the odd counter does?
The yaw counter counts long pauses and uhs and ums and keeps the record of it and gives a duty holder report at the end of the meeting.
All right.
Can you
Thank
hear
you, Karen. Oh, yeah, we can hear you just fine. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and okay.
I'm not seeing you. Did you turn your camera on?
I'm eating.
Oh, okay, fine. Well, I get it.
I have to bring my, hey, hang on, Alice. Is that better? Is that better? Yes, okay.
Oh, okay. All right, so thank you, Karen, and glad to hear from you. Come on, visit us some other times. Our other duty holder tonight's doing 2 jobs, and that's going to be Dagan Newland, and Dagan is going to be both our vote counter and our grammarian. So will you explain both your roles to our Toastmasters and guests?
Okay, first is vote counter. I'll be in charge of collecting the votes and tallying them. And just remember, when you call upon to vote for the best speaker, the best table topics, and the best evaluator, and the best of the big 3. And the best of the big 3 would be the Toastmaster, Topics Master, and the General Evaluator. So when called upon to vote for these sections, Please remember to send a vote directly to me in the chat. So private chat me on your vote. Also, if you have any comments for anybody that's speaking at any time, please remember to send them a chat and give them comments as well. Even though our speakers do get, a formal evaluation, I'm sure they'd love to hear from us other people as well. And at the end of the meeting, when called upon, I will tell everybody who won. And my second duty is the grammarian, which is twofold. First is to keep track of good uses of the English languages and any egregious uses of the English language, and make notations and give my report at the end of the meeting. The second part of that is give the word of the day. As you can see, it won't work with my virtual background, so I'm going to take it off. So the word of the day is blarney. Okay, blarney, which means deceptive or misleading talk, nonsense. So during table topics, I will hold this up during table topics to remind you to use the word of the day during table topic, because it must be used during table topics as one of the requirements to qualify. And I'll take down my virtual background during table topics. So back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dagan. Appreciate all of y'all, and those are my duty holders for this evening. One thing though I'd mention too is, like, I haven't done this a lot yet, but if you want to send a comment to one of our prepared speakers tonight, do it in private chat and tell them what you think about their speech that you'd like to share with them too, okay? Now, a couple other things. I want everybody just to hold their hands up. Is your favorite game show? Not yet. So we're gonna, by show of hands, here we go. We're going to show me what your favorite game show is as I go through a list. Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, Family Feud. I got a lot of Family Feud lovers out there. The Match Game, which isn't really on anymore except on the Game Show channel. And there's even a broadcast game show channel. You can watch it if you don't have cable. And they have some of the older ones on, and I still think they're fun. It's funny to look at people that are back in the 70s and 60s dressing style and everything. It's like a little time capsule. You look back and it's like, wow, we used to dress like that. Anyway, The Price is Right. No, okay. I think that's the fun one. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I like all the trivia ones. I like answering questions, testing my knowledge. That's just me. So now I'm going to move on to our prepared speakers. We have two this evening. And our first prepared speaker is going to be Tanya Howard. Look at the screen, John. Look at the screen. Okay. And the title of her speech is going to be called Social and Emotional Wellness. And her evaluator this evening is going to be Lee King. So, Lee, will you explain the goals for Tanya tonight, sir?
Actually, I need Tanya's objectives. Or can you text those to me, Tanya, or do you?
Put it in the, let's see if I could put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
While you're doing that, this is a quick reminder from your meeting facilitator. Speakers, please make sure that you have me, Mark Schroeder, visible for your timing requirements.
Thank you. Does anybody remember the game Password?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That was. All right. So we're ready, Lee?
I believe so.
Okay.
Looks like that Tanya's going to be working from the Confident Communicator Manual, project number 6, vocal variety. So her main objective is to put together a 5 to 7 minute speech where she will use a variety of vocal expressions.
Thank you, Lee. So now I'd like to welcome Tanya Howard, social and emotional wellness, Tanya Howard.
Thank you,
Question.
Mr.
Quick question.
Toastmaster.
This is 5 to 7?
Yes.
Okay.
For the past 3 months, we have had to shelter in place and try to figure out how to live in a pandemic. And we've had to try to maneuver and figure out ways to do things in a different way in terms of social distancing, wearing masks, and also not being able to do and to go to the places that we've normally been able to go to and or do the things that we've normally been able to do. When you think about it, this is stressful. People are worried about getting sick or their family members getting ill. People are concerned about their jobs or being able to pay their bills. And this is really a time for us to think about our physical safety, but it's also important for us to think about how we feel with our emotional state, our wellness emotionally. So how is your social and emotional wellness? The first thing I want you to think about is being self-aware. This is when you are reflective about your feelings and your emotions and thoughts and how they might impact your behavior. It's important that our emotions don't control our actions. For example, this weekend, I went to Houston. This past weekend, I went to Houston for my uncle's funeral. And this was a sad time. And I don't know about you, but I'm a hugger. And I was around my family and I couldn't hug them. And it was weird. And my brother fist bumped me. It felt lame, but we did it. And I sat out in the yard at my 94-year-old grandmother's house and talked to her while she sat on her porch. And it definitely was not the norm, but it was still satisfying. And I really didn't want my emotions to impact my actions in such a way that I would be regretting them down the road. Which brings up the second thing is self-management. And that's another essential piece when you're talking about social and emotional wellness. How are you managing your emotions when you're stressed and when you're trying not to be impulsive? Are you doing what you need to do to take care of yourself? So that might mean getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising, or not partaking in unhealthy habits that are not good for us. The last thing we need to do is to continue supporting our social and emotional wellness is by continuing to develop our relationship skills. We need to take time out to connect, even during social distancing. It's an opportunity to show support and that you still care about those that are in your lives, those people that are important to you, that you still want to take an interest in them. So I would like to stop here and do a quick one-word activity with this team. And so I'm going to ask you to grab a piece of paper and something to write with, and I'm going to ask you to respond in one word to a statement that I share with you. So that means cameras are on, and I appreciate you participating in this activity. So you're going to write the word based on the statement that I share, and then we're going to show it in our camera. So the first statement is, this week has been. If you'll write the one word, this week has been. And you'll just show your word like I'm showing mine. This week has been. There you go. See, crazy, hard, challenging, 2 challengings. Boring, trying, yes. Exhausting. Blarney, very good. Okay, the next one is this weekend will be. This weekend will be. Ah, see some relaxing. Oh, a hard weekend. Someone's gonna have a hard weekend. Yes. Okay, outdoors, relieving. Good. All right. I am, if you'll write your one word, I am happy. Good. Okay. Tired. Yes. Disappointed. Okay, good. And the last one, we are. We are. Strong, awesome, the world. Very good. United, good. Blessed, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing how you're feeling and connecting with me in this opportunity. During this unusual time, we really have to make every effort to take good care of ourselves and each other. And remember to have, first, self-awareness and aware of how you're feeling, and to know that it's okay. However it is that you are feeling, it's okay. And then to self-manage those feelings and to make sure that those feelings don't negatively impact you and your decisions or your actions that you take. And finally, to continue to find creative ways to nurture those relationships with the folks that are in our lives, and really take time to make those connections. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tanya. Excellent, excellent speech. Good information. Really appreciate that. And the little game was fun too. And I'm not disappointed in you. I'm just disappointed that I can't do more things. All right, thank you. Everybody too, like I said, if you want to send Tanya comments, please send her in a private chat so she can see that. All right. Now, our second speaker this evening is Indu, and Indu is going to give us another 5 to 7 minute speech. And the title of her speech is Global Wah! And tonight, Mark Schroeder is going to be her evaluator. So, Mark, will you tell us about the goals for Indu, please?
I would be happy to, Mr. Toastmaster. As you mentioned, she is going to be doing a 5 to 7 minute speech. It is project number 2 from the Humorously Speaking Manual, which is one of the legacy manuals. She is continuing to try to finish up some of those as part of her program. Her objectives this evening are to prepare a humorous speech that opens and closes with a humorous story, to prepare a closing story that re-emphasizes the speech's main point, and to deliver the stories smoothly and effectively. And again, for the timer, well, that's me. Her time is 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mark. So now I would like to welcome Indu Pathmanathan, Global Wah, Global Wah, Indu Pathmanathan. Go ahead, Indu. Sorry.
Thank you, John. I just wanted to let you know that the objective was actually, I actually made a mistake when I sent it to Mark, but the objective is to prepare a serious speech that opens and closes with humorous stories. I just wanted to let you know that. All right. Here are some signs to determine if global warming is real. Number one, the best parking spot is decided based on shade available rather than the distance to the destination. Number two, hot water comes from both sides of the tap. Hot air balloons no longer exist because the air outside got hotter than the air inside. You can cook any range of steak on your car top in no time. The concept of privacy no longer applies to you if you live in an igloo. I have oven mitts in my car, and they are extremely useful during the summer and winter. I needed sunscreen even if I were to drive from home to work because the sun was extremely hot through the glass. And my left side is always a couple of shades darker than my right side. Once I went to Costco and a goodie bag when I signed up for their credit card. Their goodie bag included 2 zero-calorie water bottles, 1 butter popcorn kernel packet, 2 Nutri bars, and 1 pamphlet about the credit card. Now, I accidentally forgot this bag in the car for 1 whole day. And when I went and got it the next day, believe me, I was ready to watch a movie because I had 1 bag full of popcorn ready. So, global warming is real. We know it. We hear this from many people, environmentalists, politicians, colleagues, neighbors, etc. And those who don't believe in this concept know that this is not blarney. Somewhere deep down. So let's start with what's global warming. In simple terms, the average global temperature has increased in the fastest rate recorded in history. All but one of the top 16 hottest years in NASA's 134-year record have occurred since 2000. What causes this phenomenon? Global warming occurs when carbon dioxide and other air pollutants and greenhouse gases collect in the atmosphere and absorb light and solar radiation that have bounced off the Earth's surface. Normally, this radiation would escape to space, but these pollutants, which can last for years or even centuries in the atmosphere, trap the heat and make the planet hotter. This is also known as the greenhouse effect. In the United States, the burning of fossil fuels to make electricity is the largest source of heat trapping pollution. The country's second largest source of carbon pollution is the transportation sector, which generates about 1.7 billion tons of CO2 emissions a year. What are some of the effects of global warming? Extreme weather, like longer and hotter heat waves, more frequent droughts, heavier rainfall, and more powerful hurricanes. Antarctica has been losing about 134 billion metric tons of ice per year since 2002, leading to rising sea levels. Disruption of habitats such as coral reefs and the alpine meadows could drive many plant and animal species to extinction. Now, recently we were struck by the coronavirus pandemic. As harmful as it is for us humans, the Earth saw this as a blessing to heal. Due to the various lockdown and restrictions, as many as 2.6 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions, which is roughly about 8% of the estimated total for the year, will never be emitted into the atmosphere, according to the International Energy Agency. No other event in the 20th century history has produced a bigger decrease in emission. 10 million metric tons less carbon dioxide has been emitted from aviation. All kinds of pollution have gone down, yet global warming has no intention of slowing down. We need to, and I encourage you to consciously work harder in making positive changes to your lifestyle to save this earth on the long run. One time, I went to attend a workshop. The instructor's introduction is one of the best I've heard. He said, "Don't feel bad for me because I'm bald at such a young age. This is a blessing because I don't have to spend a lot of time shampooing and rinsing my hair. But I also don't use plastic bottles and aerosols, hair products, combs, or even a hair dryer, and hence I save electricity. It is one of the many selfless acts we bald people perform every day to make this earth a better place." After this, I no longer felt bad about my thinning hair because I know it will positively contribute a little towards the earth. Little, but still positive. And remember, we cannot dramatically lower temperatures just by switching from Fahrenheit to Celsius.
Thank you, Indu. Great speech. Thank you. Very entertaining. So, Mark, I would like a timer's report. Did both contestants qualify on time?
Both of our contestants qualified this evening on time.
All right. Thank you, sir. So now if everybody would take a moment and send a private chat to Dagan, telling him who you thought did the better job with the speech tonight between Tanya and Indu. All right. Now, a couple of things, entertaining or interesting facts about game shows before we move on to table topics. Price is Right is not always as big a winner as you think, because you win all those prizes and you hit the tax man before you can get those prizes. But there is a bright side. When you leave Price is Right, there are actually buyers outside interested in buying the cars, products that you've won on the show, so you can get rid of them and turn instant money. Wheel of Fortune, they film all 5 of those shows in one day of the week. And they take a 15 to 20-minute break to change clothes between shows. Cash Cab, everybody watch Cash Cab? Never? Oh, it's fun. This guy, Goofy Ball, he's a stand-up comic, but he drove in a cab in the city of New York and does trivia questions. And you miss 3, you get kicked out of the cab wherever you are. Anyway, it's staged. They scout people at trivia contests and things like that and invite them on the show, and then they just pick them up on the street corner and they play. So it's not totally just the man off the street, who, let's get him. Also, they get money at the end of their cab ride, and if you look real close, that money is not real money. They don't get paid until the show airs. Jeopardy. Here's a question for everybody. How much do you think you could possibly win on Jeopardy if you got every question right? Any wild guesses? Okay, fine. If you answered every single question on Jeopardy correct, and at the end of each round you got the daily doubles and did true daily doubles, you could potentially win $566,400 on a single episode of Jeopardy. Does anybody remember the dating game? Do you know, actually, yeah, see? Actually, there was one male player on the dating game who was an active serial killer and was on that show, and then they caught him later on.
remember that.
And the girl, yeah, and the woman picked him, but then she didn't go out with him because she thought he was creepy. Go figure. All right, now I'd like us to move on to the table topics portion of our meeting. And our table topics host tonight is Mark Sims. So, Mark Sims, take it away.
Thank you, John. The table topics questions are in line with our theme of game shows, which I think is a great theme. It brings up great memories. For one, it takes me back to summers when I was a child and I was too young yet to work and drive in those things. And we didn't have internet. And in the summer, of course, it was always hot. So we would spend hour after hour watching TV, including a lot of game shows, just wasting the time away. And that type of indolence is actually nice to look back upon. I also remember watching game shows with my Aunt Doris, and she really liked Monty Hall on Let's Make a Deal, and she also liked Bob Barker. In fact, one time in the mid-'70s, her and her husband took a trip to California. They're once in a lifetime or a trip for a lifetime. And part of her motivations that she disclosed to a friend who later told me after Doris passed away was that she wanted to see Bob Barker in person and see if his eyes were as blue as she thought they were based on TV. And I think she actually did get in the audience on a show, but not participate in the games. Now, remember, in the table topics competition, you need to speak for at least 1 minute and a maximum of 2.5 minutes. And also, in order to qualify to win the competition, you need to use the word of the day, which is blarney, which we've heard used a couple of times already. This first question I have is for our guest, Marcia, if she would like to participate. And Marcia, have you ever been on a game show? And if not, participating in the show? If not, would you want to?
A reminder to our guests to make sure that you can see me for your time requirements.
Okay. I can start?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I've never been on a game show, probably like in my head as I'm watching television game shows. I think I would like to be a part of it. More importantly, I think I would really like to be on Family Feud. I remember growing up, we would, as a family, actually watch the show. And I'm a 70s baby, so a lot of the game shows that was on during that time eventually became a game board, type of game. And so my family actually went out and purchased Family Feud. And so that's how we would spend our weekends, actually, because we didn't really watch a lot of television. My mom was, kind of strict about that. So it was really about the family bonding time. So I really would like to be on a game show, and we actually kind of played around with it. We toyed around, but we could never reach a good consensus because we would fight over, because Family Feud, it was 5 people. And so we would fight over who would the 5 people be. Yeah. So let's see. When you think about the title of Family Feud, it is blarney. It's quite deceptive. It's not in essence Family Feud where you're actually feuding, but it's in good fun play in actuality, and it brings together relationships and closeness. And I never quite could understand with the newer version of Family Feud with Steve Harvey when they would offer a car. Because it's like, all right, it's 5 people, so how do you split a car? So I always wanted to know how families, when they would win the car, who would end up with the car. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. This next question is motivated by one recollection I have. I think on The Price is Right is this man, he was dressed up as a cowboy. He, at least I recall, had a cowboy hat. And he won a prize, and the prize was 3 bikinis. And he was a good sport. He cheered as if he were thrilled, and maybe he did have the opportunity to give those out as gifts. But one, they couldn't have had a whole lot of value. And then also compared to him, rugged cowboy, they were obviously kind of incongruent. So I would like to ask Dagan Newland, what is the strangest, weirdest gift that he ever saw someone win on a game show? You're muted, Dang.
There we go. The first I want to talk about, we talked about the guy jumping for joy for winning bikinis. You know, that's kind of blarney, because you know they don't pick they pick their contestants based on people's enthusiasm. So you know they know to, you know, jump for joy, you know, no matter what they win. So I think that's one of the things that why he was doing that, because you know they're kind of, I think they're kind of told to do that, really, just to make the show more interesting. Besides, you know, if you want something that you didn't really like, you know, you can always sell it or give it away or whatever, you know. Or they can may have a wife or girlfriend or something you could have gave them to, hopefully. So, but anyway, as for the strangest gifts, I didn't really watch. I mean, I like Price is Right, but I didn't really watch it too much. But I really enjoyed Planko. If I ever went on Price is Right, I'd want to do the Planko game, and of course get to spin the wheel. Of course, with my luck, I'd probably hit 5 2 times in a row and only get 10 cents. So that's just my luck. But I don't really watch it enough to really remember as strangest winnings. Back to you, Table Talk Master.
Thank you, Dagan. Now, obviously, most of us seem to at least have some positive images associated with game shows, but I can see 2 schools of thought. There might be some people that say, yeah, they're fun, they're entertaining. There might be some people that say, that is so stupid. Why would you waste your time watching that nonsense? And I would like to ask our former member and tonight's guest, Karen Lee, do you think game shows are entertaining or stupid? Karen, you're muted.
I'm trying to, yeah, there I am. You wanted me to tell you if game shows are stupid.
Either stupid or fun.
I say that the answer to my question, the question you're asking is, to me, is depends. I think some of this, I'll have to watch the show to evaluate whether or not I like the show. Some of them are good, like I like the Family Feud, I like answering questions. Some of these shows are full of just a bunch of blarney. And
you're muted, Karen.
I got muted again, I'm sorry. I was thinking, well, when the question was asked, the Toastmaster, John, I think, who's Toastmaster? John was asking about your favorite show. I was thinking my favorite show when I was growing up was Jeopardy. And I said my favorite was the Family Feud. We used to play along with that when I was at home, and we would do that and say which one we like, you know, if we could answer, we would say, you know, if we could answer the question. So I always liked doing that. And I've been watching on Amazon Prime shows that even game shows that came on before I was born. So that was interesting. And some of them are black and white. And the ones that don't fit on the screen, the big screens, you know, they're shrunk. So it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy that. So thank you, back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Karen. Good to see you again. Now, one thing we may not think a lot about when watching a game show is if it's on the level or not. I do know vaguely that back in the 50s, there was a scandal about a quiz show where it was rigged, as in the contestant that won a lot of prizes knew the answers. And so I would like to ask Rob Giles, do you trust the results of the game shows, or do you think they may be staged?
Oh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Topic Master. I think that it's all on the up and up. That's my personal opinion. I don't think that there's a lot of blarney going on there, but I think that there's a lot of genuineness. Although Dagan had mentioned that, you know, they pick contestants according to the wow factor and how much they can celebrate and be crazy. I think a lot of that is the genuine person. There may be some that come in there and it's fake, but I think overall, I think that it's genuine, and I think that the whole shows they're not planned, they're not staked out. If anything, they may go through everything, and then I don't know, maybe they rearrange some things in order to get to where they want as far as putting it on TV. I don't know, but I think that it's pretty much what we see is what we get. I think for the most part, and some of those shows are things that are pure luck. Other things that take a little bit more intelligence, as John noted. He likes to have a lot of trivia going on, and you know that stimulates the brain. Other things are just great fun, great excitement. I used to like it. I think that it was called Joker's Wild, but I can't remember. You know, and that's pretty simple, right? But I always like that Joker, and then you always waited for that third wheel to come around. Overall, though, there's probably some blarney going on, but I think overall, no, I think it's pretty much on the up and up. So back to you, Mr. Topic Master.
Thank you, Rob. And one final question for Tanya. A simple question. What is your favorite game show and why?
I do not have a favorite game show. I don't really watch them much. It's not that I think they're blarney. It's just that I don't really take the time to watch them. It's not as entertaining as watching a mystery or NCIS, FBI, Blue Bloods. Those are a little bit more entertaining for me. Last night, I actually watched a game show, a new one that came on called Game On. And it reminded me of why I didn't watch game shows. It was a little blarney to me, but my youngest enjoyed it quite well. But I think I will be sticking with some of the traditional shows that I enjoy more, like Judge Judy and Young and the Restless when it ever comes back on. But I think I'm going to stay away from the game shows for now. But thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you. I would like to ask Mark Schroeder, did our contestants qualify on time?
Yes, this evening, all of our contestants qualified on time.
Thank you. And I'd like to ask our grammarian if everyone used the word of the day.
Yes, everybody used the word of the day.
Excellent. In that case, please vote for who you think did the best job. And I will go over the contestants again just to remind you. But Marcia Collins answered the question, have you ever been on a game show or would you want to? Dagan Newland answered the question about the strangest or funniest gift that he had ever seen on a game show. Karen Lee discussed her thoughts on whether the game shows were either stupid or fun. Rob answered the question on whether the games were on the up and up or whether they were staged. And Tanya just disclosed to us actually her lack of a favorite game show. So please send your votes for the best contestant to Dagan Newland. And that is all I have. I guess back to return to our general evaluator.
John, do you have anything else as Toastmaster for this evening?
Only that the smallest winning score on Jeopardy, $1. So that must have been a tough question in Final Jeopardy. Back to you, Mr. GE.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. I am your general evaluator for the evening, and tonight my duty is to provide a report on the meeting as a whole, the whole meeting, and also to present the reports for each of the duty holders. And also finally, and probably the most, I personally think is the most important, but the whole thing is important, I would have to say, is for the evaluators for each of the prepared speeches. And that's where we're going to start tonight with our evaluators for the prepared speeches. Our first prepared speech was Tanya Howard, Social and Emotional Wellness, and her evaluator for the evening was Mr. Lee King. Lee, can you please evaluate or start your evaluation for Tanya tonight?
Yes, Tanya, great speech tonight. I really enjoyed your speech. You brought out a lot of very good points. It was very relevant for today's time. And you also gave a lot of vocal variety, which was your objective for this tonight's speech. So very well done. You definitely met your objective. A few things that I really like about this speech. I really liked how you engaged the audience. I always like speeches that require the audience to actively participate. I could tell your emotions and your thoughts throughout this speech, and it came across as being very genuinely. We could really feel how you must have felt this past weekend. So I really appreciate how this speech tied to each and every one of us. A couple of things that I would ask that you maybe consider working on. First, if you're going to require audience participation, such as showing up, showing words and things like that, perhaps share that with your evaluator first so that I could go ahead and tell people when I was reading your objectives what you were needing us to do. And I say that because this would allow the audience to really focus on your speech. I know for me, I was listening to your speech, but then when you were asking for a paper and pencil, I had to pause for a moment and try to find the paper and the pen and get all of that. And I felt like I kind of disconnected from your speech. But perhaps if I had all of my instruments that were required to participate in your speech ready to go, I wouldn't have had that disconnect. But other than that, that is the only real suggestion that I have for your speech this evening. Please keep working on all of your great objectives, and I look forward to hearing your next speech. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Lee. We appreciate that. Our next evaluation is going to be for Indu's speech, Global What? Global What? And that is going to go to Mark Schroeder as her evaluator. Mark, take the stage.
One quick second, I have to get, since I've been timer, let me get Dagan in as my timer, just that I have him visible.
And thank you, Dagan, for taking that on for him.
Yes, thank you so much. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, and especially our speaker tonight, Indu. Global what? So I'm going to describe what I thought tonight in terms of what I really liked about the speech. A few things perhaps to work on, and then one thing that I thought was outstanding across the board. And I want to start with the fact that if Toastmasters is about anything, it's about language and use of language effectively. And Global What it does exactly that for me. It's perfect. I think it perhaps may have been unfortunate that it was introduced as Global Wah, as if it was a cry. I don't know how you deal with that because of spelling, because obviously it's not really a word either way. But it definitely, it set the tone, and I like that. And I also like the fact that you put the word of the day in on the last, at the last minute. That was good as well. With regard to another point, the humor, you had an awful lot of one-liners at the front. I thought a lot of them were very effective. I kind of missed the laughter that I'm sure we would have gotten if we had been in a different venue. I did happen to notice and look around, and it looked like most of the people were on mute, but I would not be surprised if a lot of the people were laughing at some of those. So it was very effective humor that you opened with. And I do miss the laughter and the feedback that we get, but other than that, it was very good. I thought the content of the serious portion of your speech, I thought that was very well done. The exposition in it and all of the rationale, the reasoning, I thought it was very good. You were very impassioned as you gave all of that information, and you called us to action, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do during a speech with "I urge you." That would normally be where I would end this section, but there was one other thing that really stood out that I've got to mention in this case, which is I think you have had the best use of hands tonight, best use of gestures to be able to raise your hands high enough into the frame so that we could see your hands as you gestured through. And in this venue with Zoom, that's really important, I think, because otherwise we don't get to see much. I did notice a couple of things to work on. During that early section, it appeared that as you were going through a lot of those one-liners, I'm going to make the assumption based on later what I saw, that you were looking off to the side and reading some of that or looking at notes, because the eye contact was a little bit lacking. And I say that I think it was because it was only during that section that you were looking aside, because when you went to the phrase extreme weather, at that moment, everything changed. You were looking again at the camera, you were looking at us, and you made eye contact a little better. So I think I would have maybe added a little bit more eye contact during that first section, even if you have to look at notes, look occasionally directly at the camera. I also would have liked to have seen perhaps more ways in which we could have personally participated or contributed. You did mention a couple, but I think you could have expounded on that just a teeny bit more. Finally, the one thing that I thought that was excellent about this speech that really made it for me is this was a humor sandwich, and that's what you had to have. You had to have humor on the top, humor at the bottom, with all of the meat and substance in between. And that, number one, it's difficult to do. I thought you did a very good job of that. And it's even tougher to get all of the transitions right so that it doesn't sound pasted together and doesn't sound fake and false, but really fits and flows smoothly. Thought you did an excellent job of that. Thank you so much for speaking tonight.
Thank you very much, Mark. At this point, I would like to call for a timer's report. So between Dagan and Mark, can you please let us know if both evaluators qualified on time?
We have a +1 on our first evaluator.
And a +2 on the second.
Excellent, wonderful. Okay, so with that, please send your votes to Dagan, who is our vote counter. Send them to him on private chat. You can vote for either Lee King as Tanya's evaluator or Mark Schroeder as Indu's evaluator. And if you have any comments for either of those two evaluators, please go ahead and send those comments directly to them individually. If you have any comments for anybody throughout the meeting, please go ahead and send those also in private chat. Anybody is going to be happy to see any comments that you might have as far as constructive criticism or just positive feedback. Go ahead and have our duty holder reports for the evening. And that's going to start off with our counter, which is Karen Lee. Karen, can you give us your report as counter, please?
Yes, Mr. Evaluator, I can. I say that I didn't see a lot of pregnant pauses at the beginning, or ahs and ums at the beginning of the meeting. I was eating, so everybody got a pass there. And oh, there's one on me, so count that. And I don't know who evaluated me while I was, again, there I go. So I guess I'm backslidden. On Tanya's speech, I didn't hear any pregnant pauses. Indu, no pregnant pauses. I had a very difficult time understanding what your title of your speech was. I thought it was global warming, wah. And then I realized when Mark was talking, it was actually what? But it was a paused, you purposefully did it that way. So that's very creative when you did that. There me again. So let's see. What else? I think that's my report.
Thank you very much, Karen. We appreciate that. Our next duty holder that I'm going to call upon for the report is going to be our grammarian, and that is Dagan Newland. Dagan, can you give us your report as grammarian, please?
Yes, I did. That's going to be kind of short and sweet. I didn't find anything really outstanding. Everybody spoke the way they normally do in their context, and I didn't find anything egregious. The only thing I did have to point out is Mark Sims, when he said, "It's great to see you, Karen." Well, since we can't really see her, it might be better to say great to hear you, Karen. But other than that, I think everybody did a really good job. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Dagan. We appreciate that. The next duty holder is our posture monitor, and that is yours truly as posture monitor. Overall, we did a good job. I wanted to point out a few things that I thought we did exceptionally well. And these are things that it's tough during these times and during these virtual meetings for us to show posture or to show some errors in posture, some things that are distracting. But something that both of our speakers used that we can learn from and try to incorporate a little bit more. One, as Mark had noted for Indu, was the use of hands as for gesturing, and the way to amplify what you're saying or enhance what you're saying. Indu, you did a fantastic job, as Mark said, throughout your entire speech. I thought you did a great job, but not just with the hands. You also incorporated this, and this is something that Tanya used as well, and that was facial gestures or head movements. Indu, when you had actually tilted your head one way when you were talking about one side of the coin, kind of, so to speak, and then you tilted it the other way when you were talking about the other side of the coin. Tanya, during at the beginning of your speech, you kind of scrunched up your face and you squinted your eyes when you were talking about something, unpalatable. So you were like you weren't too happy about it, which set the stage for your speech. And I thought that was a great way to amplify and enhance what you were saying. So both of you did a great job, and I think we can both learn from that. I do want to note that Mark Schroeder, during your evaluation, you did have some hand clasping, and you were high enough up that I could see that. For most people, probably I'm not getting that, but I was able to catch that on you. So kind of keep an eye on that. If you are going to be showing that on your screen, then maybe try to pull that back if you could. Mark Sims, we have this from time to time, but you did have one of these. And I don't know how you do that except for maybe escape the screen or possibly take your video off for a second and then do your yawn to try to get your oxygen back. Because that's really what it is that you're trying to get some more oxygen. It's not that you're bored or anything like that. So other than that, I think everybody did a fantastic job as far as posture is concerned. I didn't see any slouching. Everybody was attentive, so good job. We're going to move on to my general evaluation of the meeting, and that's going to start actually before, I'm trying to get which direction here, before the meeting. The agenda came out. We probably had some people responding. Actually, we did. I saw a few. But we had John, as Toastmaster, follow up, which is important. And so, John, thank you for doing that. That set up the stage for getting the final things that you needed, hopefully, to get the meeting going today. And then we had somebody drop out. And as we do during all of our meetings, John, our Toastmaster, whoever it might be, tonight was John, great job. And everybody who volunteered to take over, we had a guest come in, former member Karen, thank you so much. all these people, you know, we're a team, and we do a great job of doing that. Unfortunately, some of that led to things being a little bit later today as far as the start. We started about 7 minutes late. And so it's just something to kind of keep in mind. Obviously, we can't control everything, and there are things that we need to take care of before the meeting starts. So that's a coin that I'll take however it flips. I want to also go into, at this point, the duty holders. Great descriptions at the beginning of the meeting, very detailed, great job, especially Karen, you stepping in right where you left off in that regard. Our duty holders reports at the end of the meeting, for the most part, succinct, and that's always good, especially for a meeting that starts a little bit late. So good job there. Our evaluators for the evening, both evaluators, great job. Lee, you did a fine job. You pointed out some positive feedback, or you gave some positive feedback. You suggested a possible enhancement as far as the speech that Tanya gave was concerning. One, you talked about the connection that she had with the audience, with, you know, the words and presenting those words. So you did a great job with that. As far as the suggestion, you were talking about maybe sharing what she was going to do with you as an evaluator prior to the meeting. And sometimes that's a little tough, especially these days, just because we're coming into the meeting just like it seems like at the last minute, because we're just walking through the door, so to speak. But yeah, it's a good to point that out. Mark Schroeder, as far as your evaluation, I thought you did a fine job. You noted at the beginning that you were going to go through and kind of do the countdown method, some good things, a few things that you might encourage, you know, change or adjustment to, and then finally something that you really liked. You gave examples as well. You know, you talked about the title being great. You talked about using the word of the day, the humor that she used to engage the audience. And you also talked about something that she may want to think about, which was the eye contact. I personally didn't recognize that, but you know, I can't keep track of everything all the time. So I trust you, you're very detail oriented. So thank you for that. And then finally, you talked about that humor and how she transitioned throughout. Very, very good. So good job by our evaluators. Great job overall for the entire meeting. I think we did a fine job. At this point, I would like for everybody to go ahead and send a vote to Dagan as our vote counter for the best of the big three. And that would be, oh, and before I even move back, I have two things that I didn't fail to mention. One, John, great theme, a fun theme, you know, especially during these times. We want to bring some fun into it. So great job, something that we could all relate to. Even Tanya, who isn't, you know, an avid game show person, you know, it's something that we can all connect with. Mark Sims, fun questions, great questions to connect with the theme. So you guys both did a great job with that. And that leads me back to voting for the best of the big three. Again, they go to Dagan. So send your vote directly to Dagan. You're voting for one of these three people: our Toastmaster, John Vessels, our Topic Master, Mark Sims, or our General Evaluator, Rob Giles. So go ahead and place your vote. If you have any comments for any of the big three or anybody else, go ahead and send those messages to the people privately. At this point, I would like to, while you're doing that, pass the meeting over to our club president. Please help me to welcome Mr. Lee King.
Evening. This is the business portion of the meeting. We've got two guests, or one guest and one. Excuse me. And one returning past member. So starting with our guest for this evening, Marcia, will you please share with us what you thought about this meeting this evening?
Thank you. I had a great time. I think what helped me really wrap my head around the concept of this group is the fact that I had a great conversation with Mark, along with the fact that he had shared with me prior to this meeting some videos of your previous meetings. And so to be able to see those, to see the essence and the flow, is very, it was good, very helpful. And
Oh, great. And Karen Lee, please share your thoughts on tonight's meeting. It's good to have you back.
Thank you. I enjoyed this meeting very much. I am a little bit, I'm unprepared with an online Zoom meeting for Toastmasters because I've never done this before. I've done it with church. So I was unfamiliar with this gesture, so this must be applause. Is that correct, or something similar to that? Okay. I am curious as to what you all have discussed doing when you do get back together physically with the social distancing and exchanging the stage to someone else. I don't know if that how you all work that, but anyway. And I see that this must be very difficult to do a presentation when you can't see someone physically. Very difficult. It looked like there'd be a lot of challenges. So there's my pause again. So I'm going to be rusty quite a while. But, thank you.
Well, thanks. Glad to have you back as well. It takes some getting used to, but I think that after doing this for a few meetings, you actually get used to it, and it's just different. As far as returning to Ozona and how we're going to hand the stage over, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. This evening, we're also going to do officer elections. So at this point, as far as I know, there are no contested races. Mark Sims would like to take over as president. Our VP of Education, Rob Giles, plans to continue. And I would do VP of Membership. Mark would stay as our VP of PR. Secretary would continue to be John Vessels. Our treasurer would stay on as Dagan, and then Nicholas would be our sergeant at arms. Does anybody have anything else, any other nominations, or would anybody like to change? Whoops. Would anybody else like to change their roles at this time? And not hearing any, if you all in favor, just say aye. Or people are muted. Okay.
Aye.
All right. Okay. So we're going to just say that that's our slate for officers that will take over effective July 1st. So one more month, but we got our officers in place for the next term. Now comes the time to discuss when to return to it.
Before you move on?
Yeah.
Quick question. Given that we have officers, do we know when the first TLIs will start?
I have not heard. I don't think it's been determined. And I think one thing that District 50 is still discussing is exactly what TLIs are going to look like. If they're going to be face-to-face or Zoom or a combination thereof. I think that's still kind of in the works. Am I correct, Indu? Yeah. In fact, because when I was at the business meeting, it was my understanding that Toastmasters International has okayed virtual training at this point. So it's a work in progress. We'll share more as we get more.
Appreciate the answer.
Yes. So really now comes the question as far as when do we want to return? And so I know that there was some discussion that we want the threat level, I guess you could say, to go down to green before we return to Ozona. I think one person had mentioned they would consider going back if it's yellow, but certainly when it's red and orange, not to return. The question is, how do we want to proceed with letting Ozona know when we want to return? Do we want to establish a certain red light, orange light, green light, yellow light system where we're just following what the county is suggesting? Or do we want to just say that we'll not meet at all the month of February or the month of June at Ozona, and we'll kind of regroup around this time next month? So please share your thoughts and let's do a vote.
I would say
I don't think they're going to be ready for June. So I figure we'll hold Zoom meetings through June.
Okay.
That's what I agree to too.
Okay. So for what it's worth, since I've been talking with Ozonas, I've certainly been telling them that we're not planning on coming back while it's red. When the Dallas County is saying stay home, stay safe, we probably shouldn't be going in. I said I didn't know that we've decided exactly when we will, but certainly not under red. What I can't get any visibility on is exactly how close we are to going to orange. I mean, I know that it's supposed to be 14 days of decline, but I have not found a good enough definition to know how many days of decline we've had, to know if we are 2 days away or still 14 days away from that. My understanding from Lee is that each one of the additional levels is an additional 14 days. And so I'm at least one of the people that said, yeah, not before yellow. I don't know if I would even consider yellow. I'm not sure. But not, so I certainly didn't want to go back before yellow. Being someone who is a little older than some of the rest of you, even though I don't have a lot of the other issues, but this seems to hit people at random, just smack them at random for no apparent reason.
I agree. I drove by this afternoon around 2, and I was surprised at how many cars were parked in Ozona.
Really?
Like, yes. I thought, what are people doing out? But
well, and that varies because I've got a friend who works at Wild Wings, and she says it has been dead. And on a Sunday, they let her work for 2 hours and sent her home because she had 0 tables. So it's varying by place very much. But
well, Ozona's has the big outdoor area, so maybe that's where they're able to get more people.
Yeah,
that could be. Yeah,
the outdoor area. Having the outdoor area was part of why they don't need the club room for us to make it profitable for them, because they can put enough people outside that they can still give us the club room.
Right.
okay, so do we want to say that we're not going to return until at least the county lowers its threat level down to yellow, or do we want to, and then we would reevaluate? So in other words, tell them as long as it's red and orange, we're not coming back. It doesn't matter if that happens in June or even if that goes into July. Or do we want to just say, well, we won't be back in June and we'll let you know about July at the end of June?
I say just wait till it goes down to yellow, then we can reevaluate.
Okay.
Given the nature of our business and what we're doing, I think that makes sense in a couple of ways. Number one, it has been shown that in groups where people are singing or talking loudly, there's potentially a higher dispersion of the virus. And it may linger in the air up to 14 minutes, which is part of what Karen was referring to with exchange of the stage. We may not want to do that and have people walking through the same air even when we return, just in case. But
we'll turn all the ceiling fans on.
Yeah. Or we may need to request getting that outdoor patio area that is to the right or right through as you walk in the front door.
Right.
Alternative. Then we end up outdoors. But I think we do have some of those issues that we have to deal with because what we're doing is a little bit different. Plus, it's going to be really weird giving speeches with masks, quite frankly. I mean, let's put it this way. I'm having enough fun breathing through my 2 layers of dish towel and a layer of t-shirt over it without having to speak through it. I'm hard to hear.
Yeah, I agree. And then of course, come the end of June, first part of July, it'll be over 100 degrees outside. I don't think it'll be a fun meeting. All right.
Yeah, I can't, it's certainly not, if it's 2 weeks to get from orange to yellow, and we're not at orange yet, and we probably got at least 3, so that's most of the way through June for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna get through June without getting to green, much less yellow.
I suspect you're right.
Okay, so we want to go ahead and vote, I guess, on telling Ozona that the county threat level goes to yellow, we will reevaluate if we will return at that point or not. But as long as it is red and orange, we're not returning, period.
Yep. Okay.
At the risk that that puts our room and them trying to sell it out from or rent it out from underneath us, I don't see that we have an option that's safe for our members otherwise.
Right.
Okay. And can't really picture them being able to get a lot of people in that room either with the social distancing guidelines. And I don't know how many people are going to want to have huge parties anyway. So.
Right.
You say that, but you didn't
Yeah.
Land of the Lakes this last weekend, apparently. Anyway.
Apparently,
Yeah,
I
saw
was
that.
surprised.
Well, they're
Oh.
young and invulnerable and outdoors, so hey.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. All right. So, all in favor of saying that we're going to remain on Zoom until the Dallas County threat level reaches yellow, at which point we'll reevaluate. Please say aye.
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 All right. Anybody opposed? All right. Well, we will continue with Zoom. Does anybody else have anything else that they would like to share this evening? All right. Let's hear from our vote counter then.
Right. So I'm just going to order. I'm going to go in the order of the meeting. So our best speaker tonight is going to be Tanya Howard.
Yay.
Our best table topic speaker is going to be Marcia Collins. Yes, you. Our best evaluator is going to be Mark Schroeder. And the best of the big three is going to be our Toastmaster, Don Vessels.
And actually, I just Karen Lee, I meant to mention this earlier, but this here is actually sign language for applause because a deaf person cannot hear clapping, and they would not, if you're sitting in a large auditorium, they would not necessarily see the hands either. So for the hearing impaired, they say to raise your hands and do this. So it's actually it's kind of funny, it's one of those things that was really designed for people that are hearing impaired, but I think in this new time that we're doing Zoom and everything, it's serving that purpose too. It's becoming a virtual symbol. So just a little more information on it.
Off mute. I studied to be a sign language interpreter at my junior college for 2 years. And then when I transferred to Lamar University in Vermont, I got a degree in speech pathology and I took American Sign Language classes. So you just refreshed my memory about that. Thank you.
Karen, wow, Karen, you and I need to talk. I took sign language through SMU as a foreign language, believe it or not.
Yes, you can get foreign language credit for it.
Yeah, the only thing I did not take ASL. I took American Signed English, basically, because my instructor did not want people to learn a different syntax. They wanted them to be, she was really big on people being fluent in English since it's an English speaking world that they're going to be living in. But other than that, yeah, we went to the Deaf Action Center. It was very interesting.
The thing about it is I actually was involved with a choir, sign language choir. And one of the things we did was like go to since it was so close, go to Louisiana School for the Deaf. And that one of the things about the Texas School for the Deaf is they have they do the signed English. The people that have enough hearing and they can, learn some reading and stuff, they learn signed English, and they had at that time of using a big red textbook.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, with that, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all for coming. This is your meeting facilitator. I'm about to stop our recording in 3, 2.